I surprised my family with a vacation, but things went sideways fast when my entitled sister tried to hijack the whole thing and kick me out of my own trip, so I canceled her ticket and went without her. Now she's out on the street, begging me to let her back into my life. I'm 27, and folks say we come from a close-knit family, but let me tell you, that phrase is doing some serious heavy lifting. There are 3 of us kids, me, my younger brother who's 24, and our baby sister Riley, who's 22. Now, me and my brother? We're solid. We've always had that classic brother bond. 1 second we're play wrestling, the next we've got each other's backs like it's us against the world. But Riley? That's where things get messy. See, Riley was always treated like the little princess growing up. You know the kind, the youngest one who could never do anything wrong, at least not in our parents' eyes. While me and my brother were expected to act grown up and pull our weight, Riley basically got a free pass for everything. She'd skip her chores? Oh, poor thing must be worn out from all her extracurriculars. Bombed a math test? That's okay, she's just more artistic. Meanwhile, if I so much as left a sock out of place, you'd think I broke a window. That favoritism built a wall between us as the years went by. It's not like I don't love Riley. I do, she's still my sister, but man, her entitled attitude has always rubbed me the wrong way. And I'm not the only one. My brother's tolerance for her drama is even thinner than mine. Put the 2 of them in the same room for longer than 5 minutes, and I swear, it's like lighting a fuse on a firecracker. Want an example of the kind of stuff we deal with? Last Christmas, Riley rolled up to our family gift exchange without bringing a single present. Her excuse? I'm just a broke college student, you get it, right? Fair enough, except she just posted photos of her brand new iPhone and those high-end designer boots on Instagram a few days before. When my brother called her out, she broke into tears and accused him of being too materialistic. Guess who our parents rushed to console? Yep, or Riley. Like always. Still, I've tried to be the bigger man over the years. I figured that as we all got older, maybe things would settle down. Riley would grow up a bit, our parents would stop playing favorites, and eventually we'd laugh about the way things used to be. Then earlier this year, something wild happened. I hit the jackpot at work. I landed a bonus so big, I swear my eyes nearly popped out of my skull. Once I got over the shock, the first thing I thought was, man, I want to do something nice for my family. Our parents had an anniversary coming up, and that gave me an idea. Why not take everyone on a vacation? It had been forever since we'd all gone somewhere together. The last time must have been when Riley was still in high school, and even that was just a weekend at a lake nearby. This time, I wanted to do it right. I'm talking a full week in Hawaii. All expenses paid. Flights, a fancy resort, excursions, the whole shebang. Why Hawaii? Well, that's where our parents went on their honeymoon. I thought it'd be sweet to send them back there, only this time, with their kids in tow. And let's be honest, who wouldn't jump at the chance to go to Hawaii? Beaches, sunshine, ocean breezes, it's the dream. When I told my parents about the trip, you should have seen their reactions. My mom actually got a little misty-eyed. Dad tried to play it cool, but you could tell he was pumped. They started talking about their honeymoon right then and there, swapping stories I'd never even heard before. It was a really special moment. I felt like a rock star's son. My brother? Just as I figured, he was all in. He gave me a bear hug and immediately started tossing out ideas, surfing, hiking, maybe even skydiving if we could talk mom and dad into it. His excitement was contagious, and I was already buzzing about the trip myself. Then there was Riley. I'll admit, I was nervous about how she'd react. But to my surprise, and yeah, a little relief, she actually seemed super excited. She started listing off all the Instagram reels she wanted to film while we were there. I rolled my eyes a little at that, but hey, at least she was happy. For a second, I actually thought maybe, just maybe, this trip would bring us all closer. Oh man, how wrong I was. The trouble started pretty much right away. In true Riley fashion, she decided that since I was paying for the trip, she should be the one calling the shots. She didn't ask, she told me. Straight up said, "You're not good at planning stuff." Like I hadn't just put together this whole thing by myself. "Just give it to me," she said. "I'll make it amazing." Look, I had my reasons for planning this trip on my own. First off, it was my gift. I wanted to surprise everyone with what I had lined up. And second, I know how my sister operates. When someone else is footing the bill, Riley's taste jumps from Applebee's to five-star steakhouse real fast. If I let her run the show, we'd be looking at private jets and gold faucets before you could blink. Just to give you a feel for it, last time we all went out for dinner, Riley ordered the priciest steak on the menu and a $400 bottle of wine to go with it. Then, when the check came, oh no, she'd accidentally left her wallet at home. But when it's her turn to pay, let's just say you're lucky if she springs for a 6-inch Subway. I tried explaining this to our parents, but of course, they went into let's compromise mode. If you're too busy, they said, maybe Riley could help with some of the planning. I told them the itinerary was supposed to be a surprise, figured that would shut it down. But Riley wouldn't let it go. She had to know everything in advance so she could pack the right outfits. I promised her nothing would catch her off guard, but she just kept pushing. And yeah, looking back, I should have held my ground. But I wanted to keep the peace, so eventually I caved and sent her the schedule. Biggest mistake of my life. The second Riley got her hands on it, she went full control freak. She called me up and immediately started ripping apart all the plans I'd made. In her words, the whole thing needed to be reorganized to make sure everyone would be comfortable. And I'll be honest, some of her suggestions were actually decent. So like a chump, I made a few changes. That was all the opening she needed. Before I knew it, she was acting like she'd planned the entire thing herself. She even went into our family group chat and told everyone she'd taken over the trip and made some improvements. At first, things didn't seem so bad. Riley came up with the idea that we all wear matching outfits each day. Kinda cheesy, sure, but I'll admit, it had a cute family vibe to it. But then, things started going off the rails. About a week before we were supposed to leave, I logged into my account just to check on some last-minute details, and I nearly fell out of my chair. Riley had gone in behind my back and canceled some of the activities I'd carefully booked for us. Stuff I picked because I knew everyone would enjoy it. In their place, a bunch of things she preferred. To top it off, she posted in our family group chat like she was some kind of CEO, telling everyone about her executive decisions, and that we should all just follow her lead. I was furious. This trip was supposed to be my gift, and she'd basically steamrolled over the whole thing. I called her, trying to keep calm and talk things out. But Riley? She wasn't having any of it. Told me flat out that she was better at planning than I was. That I should be grateful for her help. Grateful? Are you kidding me? I told her, crystal clear, that she had crossed a line. This was my trip, my money, my effort, and she needed to back off and let me handle it. Her response? She called me controlling, and then hung up. Later that night, I got a call from our parents, and they were definitely not in a good mood. Turns out Riley had gone crying to them, spinning some tale about how I was ruining everything. I tried to explain the real story without giving away the surprises I still had in store, but it didn't matter. It was clear who they were siding with. Riley's just excited about the trip, they said. Maybe you should let her take part in the planning. They didn't seem to get, or care, that she had completely disrespected my time, my money, and my effort. To them, it was all, what does it matter who plans it? We're family. I felt like I was losing my mind. Was I really the only one who saw how crazy this whole thing was? For a minute, I honestly considered just canceling the entire trip. But instead, I took a deep breath and decided to take the high road. Fine, I thought. If she wants to play boss that bad, let her. I'd try to enjoy the vacation anyway, even if it didn't look like the trip I had imagined. But oh man, that was just the calm before the storm. 2 days ago, just one day before our flight, I got a notification saying my tickets had been canceled. At first, I thought it had to be a glitch. I called the airline, panicked, trying to figure out what went wrong. That's when they told me the cancellation came from my own account. Right then, I knew exactly who had done it. Riley. I called her immediately. She picked up like nothing was out of the ordinary. I confronted her, and she actually laughed. Oh yeah, she giggled, like it was some kind of joke. Isn't that hilarious? Hilarious? I was boiling. I asked her to explain herself, and that's when she dropped the hammer. Look, she said, completely unapologetic. I know you paid for everything, blah blah blah, but we've decided we can't have you on this trip. You're too controlling. Your energy would just bring everyone down. She even had the nerve to say she'd talked it over with the rest of the family, and they'd agreed to dump me. That I wasn't worth ruining the trip over. I was speechless. I mean, this was my vacation, my gift to them, and now I was being booted from it? Something in me just snapped. I didn't say another word to her. I just ended the call, logged into my account, and took action. In a couple of clicks, I canceled Riley's ticket and rebooked it in my own name. Then I changed the account password, just to make sure she couldn't mess with anything else. After that, I sent a message to the family group chat. Since Riley has decided I'm not welcome on the trip I paid for, I've canceled her ticket instead. If anyone wants to stay behind with her, let me know, and I'll cancel yours too. The fallout was instant. My phone started blowing up with calls and messages. First one to call was my brother, and thank God, he was just as blindsided as I was. He swore up and down that he had no clue what Riley was planning. According to him, she'd made the whole thing up. Neither he nor our parents had ever agreed to kick me off the trip. While I was still on the phone with him, my parents called next. They were furious that I had canceled Riley's ticket. Said I was being vindictive and petty, but I stood my ground. I reminded them that this whole trip was something I put together, something I paid for, as a gift to all of them. If they didn't want me there, that was fine. I'd go by myself. But I sure wasn't going to throw my money away and let myself be pushed aside for their convenience. To be fair, my parents did sound genuinely shocked when I told them Riley had canceled my ticket. They swore they never told her to do that. But they also didn't love that I'd retaliated by canceling hers. They kept saying we should all go on this trip as a family. I told them flat out, I wasn't going to let Riley run the show and walk all over my generosity. If she wanted to plan her own vacation, she could do that with her own cash. But this was my treat, and I wasn't going to get shoved out of it. Meanwhile, Riley was going ballistic. She bombarded my phone with angry texts, calling me every name in the book. Said I'd ruined everything. Called me a terrible brother. I didn't even bother arguing. I just forwarded her messages straight to our parents. Figured they should see for themselves what their little angel really looked like. A bit later, my dad called me back. Said he wanted to smooth things over. Suggested we get on a three-way call with Riley so she could apologize, and maybe I'd consider putting her back on the trip. Part of me wanted to laugh in his face. Why should I be the one offering peace after everything she pulled? But another part of me was curious. What would she actually say? I knew my sister. A real apology from her was about as likely as snow falling in Hawaii. Still, I said okay. Let's see where this goes. Dad added her to the call, but she didn't realize I was already on the line. He started off gently, telling her she needed to apologize for canceling my ticket. But before he could even finish, Riley blew up. Apologize to him? Yeah, right, she snapped. I did what I had to do. He was going to ruin the whole thing with his controlling BS. There was this long, uncomfortable silence after she snapped. I could almost hear the gears grinding in my dad's brain, like he was finally putting the pieces together and realizing they'd been enabling Riley's nonsense for years. He didn't say a word, just hung up. I waited a few minutes, then called him back. So, do you finally see how cruel your daughter can be? I asked. Or are you still hoping I'll take her on this trip? He was quiet for a while. Then he said, I feel like I'm being torn between two of my kids. I honestly don't know what to do. And yeah, part of me felt bad for him. But a bigger part of me just felt relieved. At last, my parents were starting to see Riley for who she really was. Sitting here now, I've got all kinds of emotions swirling around. On one hand, I know I did the right thing. I stood up for myself. I refused to be used as a doormat or let Riley take advantage of me and the gift I was trying to give. But I'd be lying if I said it didn't sting. This trip wasn't supposed to go down like this. All I wanted was a nice getaway for the whole family, a chance to reconnect and make new memories together. And yeah, even though Riley drives me nuts, she's still my sister. My brother and I might still have fun without her, but I know our parents will be carrying some of that disappointment with them. Then again, maybe this is what needed to happen. Maybe now, finally, my parents will understand that spoiling Riley all her life hasn't done anyone any favors. Maybe this will force us to finally confront all the stuff that's been bubbling under the surface for years. So that's where things stand right now. I'm packed and ready for the trip I organized and paid for, but where I used to feel excited, there's now just a tight knot in my stomach. My brother's still in. My parents are on the fence. And Riley? I bet money she's out there plotting some kind of revenge as we speak. Whatever comes next, one thing's for sure. I finally stood up for myself. And hey, worst case scenario? I hear Hawaii's still paradise, even if you go solo. Update number 1. Hey Reddit, Opie here with a quick update on the whole Hawaii meltdown. Because, believe it or not, things somehow got even messier. So remember how I canceled Riley's ticket after she tried to boot me from the trip I planned and paid for? Yeah, turns out that was just step 1 in her whole campaign of chaos. After I posted in the family group chat, Riley went into full meltdown mode. I'm talking full-blown nuclear tantrum. But instead of owning up to what she did, Or maybe apologizing like a halfway decent human being, she decided to double down. She tried to drag my brother into it. Out of nowhere, she calls him up one night with this brilliant pitch. She wanted the two of them to co-sponsor the trip so that they could still go, just without me. That's right. Her plan was to steal the vacation I'd paid for. Now, my brother's not perfect, but he's no dummy. First thing he asked was, "Do you even have the money for that?" Riley's answer? Well, no. Not right now. But I'll pay you back as soon as I can. I really wish I could have seen his face in that moment. Probably somewhere between "Are you serious?" and "What planet are you on?" For context, Riley's current job is part-time at a local coffee shop. And by part-time, I mean she shows up when she feels like it, which isn't often. She's been fired more times than I can count because she thinks being on time and doing actual work is beneath her. So we're promising to pay him back soon? That's about as believable as a chocolate teapot holding boiling water. Still, my brother played it cool and asked how serious she was about this plan. Her response? Oh, totally serious. And if Hawaii's too expensive, we can just go to Mexico. Mexico. Let that sink in. She wanted to ditch a paid-in-full trip to Hawaii and downgrade to a budget vacation in Mexico, funded by my brother. The audacity is honestly next level. To his credit, my brother managed to stay calm and pointed out the obvious. Why would he ditch a free trip to Hawaii just to pay out of pocket for another one? And even worse, he knew if he went with Riley, he'd end up being her unpaid Instagram photographer the entire time. Riley didn't take the rejection well. She hung up on him and immediately started spamming his phone with a flood of texts so nasty they'd make a sailor blush. Apparently, he's a selfish jerk and a mama's boy for not wanting to bankroll her tropical selfie spree. But wait, it gets better. Riley wasn't finished. Nope. She still had one more card to play, the guilt trip. For the next few days, she basically moved into our parents' house, crying nonstop and acting like we'd abandoned her and shattered the family. She painted herself as this poor, mistreated soul being left out of a once-in-a-lifetime trip. To their credit, my parents didn't cave, at least not this time. They told her straight up, if she wanted to come, she'd have to apologize and make things right with me. Of course, Riley's idea of making things right is everyone else groveling to her. She flat out refused. Said she didn't do anything wrong, that I was the one who should apologize to her. Why? According to her, I've spent my whole life trying to make her look bad and using money to buy everyone's love. Yes, because planning a generous family vacation is apparently a devious manipulation tactic now. My parents tried to play peacemaker. They called me, asking if I'd be willing to be the bigger person and let her join. But I held firm. I told them, this isn't about being petty. I'm not rewarding that kind of behavior. If she wants to come, she needs to take responsibility and say she's sorry. That's it. That's the bare minimum. The day of the trip finally rolled around, and man, the tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. My brother was hyped, practically bouncing like a kid on Christmas. My parents? They looked like they were heading to a funeral instead of a beach. As we boarded the plane, I could feel the weight of their disappointment. It was written all over their faces. We should all be here. The whole family. But you know what? That's on Riley, not me. I wasn't about to let her behavior ruin this trip for everyone else. And once we touched down in Hawaii, things started looking up. It's hard to stay mad when you're standing on warm sand, gazing out at turquoise waves under golden sunsets. I threw myself into making sure the trip was everything it was supposed to be. We hit up a private luau, went snorkeling, and even took a helicopter ride over the islands. Bit by bit, I watched my parents start to unwind and actually enjoy themselves. Of course, Riley couldn't stand to let us have one peaceful moment without trying to insert herself into the mix. The entire week, my phone kept lighting up with her texts. One moment she was furious, wishing we'd all get sunburns or eaten by sharks. The next she was crying about how betrayed she felt by her own flesh and blood. My parents checked in with her here and there, but even they were starting to see through her dramatics. Funny how much clearer things become when you're not knee-deep in one of Riley's emotional whirlwinds. By the time we packed up to head home, we had a suitcase full of memories and way too many souvenir t-shirts. My parents, even though they were still a little bummed Riley hadn't come, admitted they'd had a great time. They thanked me for putting it all together and said it had been one of the best family trips we'd ever had. When I got back, I found out Riley had blocked me on every social media app she could think of. Apparently, seeing our smiling vacation photos was more than she could handle. She was furious with our parents for picking sides and even threatened to cut ties with them too. Not that it carried much weight. She still lived in their house rent-free. She didn't hold back on our brother either, calling him a freeloader for going on the trip. Because in Riley's upside-down world, accepting a generous gift makes you a leech, but expecting your sibling to fund your luxury vacation? Totally reasonable. The cherry on top of this messy Sunday, Riley told me she never wanted to see me again. And honestly, that's fine with me. I'm done tiptoeing around her moods and making room for her drama. I'm tired of her entitlement and the constant emotional blackmail. That said, it does sting. No matter what's happened, she's still my sister. I wish things were different, but I'm not going to set myself on fire just to keep her warm. I drew a line, and I stuck to it. If that makes me the villain in her version of events, so be it. Maybe someday Riley will grow up and realize the world doesn't revolve around her. And maybe then, we can rebuild something. But until that day, I'll hold on to the memories of that incredible trip, the one that finally happened because I stood my ground and said, enough. And hey, worst case, I got an amazing tan and a story that'll blow any dinner party out of the water. Silver linings, right? Update number 2. All right, Reddit. It's been a few months since the great Hawaii meltdown of 2027. And if I'm being honest, I thought things might have cooled down by now. Spoiler alert, they didn't. When we got back, I dove straight into work. Partly to make up for time off, but mostly because I needed a break from the never-ending circus of family drama. I figured, give it some space. Maybe Riley would take the time to reflect and grow up a little. Yeah, I know. I'm a sucker for wishful thinking. Meanwhile, my brother and I indulged in a little petty payback. We flooded our social media feeds with vacation photos, picture-perfect sunsets, umbrella drinks on the beach, group shots with big grins, and slightly sunburned noses. Was it mature? Probably not. Did it feel satisfying? You better believe it did. Flash forward about 3 months. I finally got a weekend off and decided to swing by my parents' place for dinner. But when I pulled into the driveway, something felt off. Took me a second to realize what it was. Riley's battered old Volkswagen Beetle, the one our parents gifted her for her 20th birthday, was nowhere in sight. When I stepped inside, I noticed her room was empty. And not, she's out running errands, empty. I mean bare walls, cleaned out closet, fresh scent of disinfectant lingering in the air kind of empty. Despite everything, she's still my sister. The idea of her out there on her own made my stomach twist a little. I've seen her version of adulting before. It's not great. I found my parents in the kitchen, looking lighter, like they'd finally exhaled after holding their breath for years. When I asked about Riley, they exchanged a look that said more than words could. Turns out, they'd finally done what they should have done ages ago. They cut the cord. Now, before you think they just tossed her to the curb cold-hearted, let me give you some context. Riley's never exactly been a poster child for responsibility. She's bounced between jobs like she's allergic to commitment, always quitting or getting fired because, get this, work is too rigid. About a year ago, my parents told her it was time to pay rent if she wanted to keep living at home. You'd think they'd asked her to donate a vital organ. She threw an epic tantrum, accused them of not loving her, and called them every name in the book. But this time, my dad didn't back down. He gave her 2 choices, pay rent or find another place to live. She reluctantly agreed. Want to guess how many months she actually paid? 4 out of 12. Each month brought a new excuse. Car trouble, needed new clothes for work, or my personal favorite, Mercury's in retrograde, and it's bad luck to pay rent right now. I wish I was joking. After we got back from Hawaii, she escalated things even more. She blew up at our parents, accusing them of abandoning her for choosing me. When they tried to offer her the gifts we brought back, she literally threw them back at them. That was it for my dad. He told her to pack up. He was done enabling her. Riley, realizing she'd finally crossed the line, switched gears fast. Cue the waterworks. She clung to our mom, made a bunch of empty promises. She'd get her act together. She'd pay rent. She'd change. But my parents had finally seen through the act. They stood firm, helped her find a small apartment, even paid her first 2 months' rent to get her started. My dad sat Riley down and gave her a real talk about growing up, taking responsibility, and how life doesn't hand out freebies forever. Honestly, I still thought they were being way too generous. She was being handed yet another golden opportunity, while the rest of us had to grind for every inch. But I kept my mouth shut. At least she wasn't living under their roof anymore. For the first couple of months, things seemed fine. Riley dropped by for dinner now and then, nothing too weird. But then Mom noticed a pattern. Riley was showing up more and more, always right around dinner time. And she started staying the night more often, too. At first, my parents chalked it up to homesickness. But as the weeks stretched on and her visits got longer and more frequent, they started to suspect something wasn't adding up. For months in, they finally sat her down for a heart-to-heart. That's when the truth spilled out. Riley hadn't paid rent, not even once. She'd been ducking her landlord, couch surfing with friends, and coming home for free meals to avoid returning to the apartment she never actually paid for. When Mom asked what she'd done with her paycheck, yes, she somehow held a job longer than a month. Riley dropped a classic. I had to buy work shoes. Work shoes? I'm sorry, unless she's auditioning to be a centipede, I don't see how 3 months' rent went into footwear. Mom, still trying to be supportive, offered to loan her the money to get caught up. But Riley? She had other plans. She said she should just move back home instead. That's when Dad hit his breaking point. He told her flat out, no more. No more bailouts. No more dinners. No more coming back. He even said if she showed up again begging for help, they wouldn't answer the door. Harsh. Maybe. But after years of enabling her nonsense, I think they finally realized tough love was the only path left. Naturally, Riley didn't take it well. She tried everything in the book. Tears, guilt trips, empty threats. Even said she'd cut them off like she was doing them a favor. But this time, my parents didn't budge. With that door shut, Riley made her next move. She called my brother, spinning some sob story about how cruel and unfair everyone was. My brother, bless him, didn't take the bait. He told her point blank that he was barely scraping by himself and couldn't help her out financially. And here's where it got real wild. Riley, legend that she is, asked him if he'd borrow money from me and then give it to her. Why not just ask me directly? Well, according to Riley, that would boost my ego too much and make her feel like a failure. I mean, if the shoe fits. My brother, way more patient than I would have been, told her if she really needed help, she should swallow her pride and ask me. Riley's reply? She called him my bootlicker and said he was my pet who runs after me for free meatloaf. I have no idea what that even means, but I'm 99% sure it wasn't meant as a compliment. So here we are. Riley's out there somewhere, probably couch surfing and dodging her landlord. My parents are finally sticking to their boundaries. My brother and I are apparently locked in some meatloaf-based master-pet dynamic I didn't know about. And me? I'm just sitting here trying to process the circus that is my family. I'm proud of my parents, though. It took them way too long, but they finally stopped enabling her. Maybe, just maybe, this'll be the wake-up call Riley needs to finally get her act together. Some folks might say I'm being too harsh. She's your sister, they'll argue. You can't just cut her off. And hey, they're not wrong. Riley is my sister. She always will be. But being family doesn't mean you get a free pass to treat people like garbage. It doesn't mean you can guilt trip and scream and throw tantrums whenever life doesn't go your way. If anything, being family should mean treating each other with more respect, not less. I know this probably isn't the end of the Riley Chronicles. Knowing her, she's already cooking up a new plan to sneak back into someone's life or their wallet. But for now, there's this strange thing I haven't felt in a long time. Peace. And man, it feels good. So yeah, that's where things are at. Reddit. Riley's out. My parents are holding the line. And me? I'm just here, sharing this absolute soap opera with a bunch of strangers online, because sometimes life gets so ridiculous, all you can do is laugh. Thanks for sticking with me through this saga. If anything new goes down in Riley land, I'll keep you posted. But for now, I'm off to make some meatloaf. Apparently, it's the going rate for sibling loyalty these days.